It is spring. The birds of America are in full song. Woods and fields, gardens and shade trees resound with their music. Each species has its characteristic song. Over and over again it sings the same little musical phrases that anyone with a good ear can learn to recognize. Thereafter you will walk with friends in the great outdoors instead of with just a medley of sound. It is surprising how many more birds you will see when once you have learned to recognize their songs. So let's take the little book with its color plates and go for a bird walk, and we will use our ears as well as our eyes. We will start in the garden on a spring morning, and today the first song that greets our ears is the cheerful warble of the bluebird. There it is, singing from the roof of the birdhouse where its mate is building the nest. Chirr, calls the female. Cheer, cheerful charmer, chuckles the male, and shrugs one wing, as though it really did not matter. The next bird we hear is the brown thrasher. It likes to sing from the top of a tree. Tail down and head up, it delivers a monologue and emphasizes certain of its points by repeating some of its phrases, as though it were saying, come here, come here. Do you see her? She's hiding. She's pretty. Teacher's pet. Right here, right here. See her? Hear me? She's running. Catch her, and so forth. And now a friendly little black-capped bird comes flying to meet us as if expecting to be fed. Chickadee-dee-dee it calls, pronouncing its name. And then, lest we think this is its real song, it throws its head back and whistles a clear fee-bee-bee, or Phoebe, a name that belongs to quite a different bird. There are so many birds singing now, it is hard to concentrate on just one. But here's a noisy little fellow, the Carolina wren, that calls cheer, cheer, cheer in a loud, ringing voice. The phrases that follow one can recognize better by quality and rhythm than by translation, because different birds seem to use different vocabularies. As we leave the garden and walk along under the elms and maples by the roadside, we gradually realize there are birds singing overhead, furnishing background music for all the other species. They do not sound forth like the thrashers or the robins, but proceed in more or less of a monotone, without interruption. They are the red-eyed vireos, and high in the trees they are more difficult to see than to hear. One bird singing by itself seems to say, look up, way up, treetop, see it, and so forth, without ever stopping. High up in the maple is another song, given by a bird that is even more difficult to see. the warbling vireo. The song is not broken up into phrases like the red-eyed vireos, but is given in sentence form, a somewhat hesitating warble that ends with a rising inflection, as though it were saying, "Iggly, piggly, wiggly, pig." Before we get entirely away from the garden, we should stop and listen to the little yellow warbler, whose mate is building a cottony nest in the syringa bush. Its song is too high-pitched to sound musical to our ears, but after all, it is not singing to us. "Sweet, sweet, 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 I'm so sweet," it seems to say, and rather hurriedly, for fear it may miss a caterpillar while taking time to sing. Nearly everyone knows the voice of the robin, but perhaps we should stop right now and fix its phrases in our mind before we hear other birds that sound something like it. Cheer up, cheerily, cheer up, cheer up, cheer up, cheerily, it says in a loud, clear voice, completely dominating the phoebe singing in the background. Now along the road again, on a neighbor's lawn, we spy a whole flock of goldfinches, feeding on the dandelion seeds and just matching the bright yellow flowers with their feathers. Some fly to the telephone wires and give forth a medley of canary-like notes that are difficult to translate into our language, though the pert chickaree, flight call, and the bay-bee, alarm note, are distinct enough. From the top of a hawthorn bush comes another medley of phrases that at first sounds like a squeaky brown thresher. But we soon realize that the notes are not given in pairs, nor with the rhythm of the thresher, and we spy a plain gray bird that is a catbird. We certainly would have difficulty putting words to its music, but its cat-like calls are a giveaway. There is a little marshy spot near the edge of the field we are approaching, and there on a perch among the sedges is a blackbird with scarlet shoulder patches, which it displays as it fluffs out its feathers, spreads its wings and tail, and calls conkaree with apparent effort. It is the red-winged blackbird. At the edge of the swampy area, there is quite a patch of elderberry bushes, much liked by rose-breasted grosbeaks. And sure enough, as the brown female slips in with a weed stem for her nest, we see the showy male in the willow nearby and hear his robin-like song. It is a richer song than the robin's, and he runs his phrases together instead of chopping them off. If you listen carefully, you may notice he mentions a whippoorwill in nearly every sentence. And now we come to an open field with lush timothy and clover well started, though the daisies and hawkweed are not yet in bloom. Floating over the green meadow, chasing one another about, are several blackbirds with conspicuous white on their upper parts. They are bobolinks, and their bubbling banjo-like songs greet our ears with the exuberance of college boys. One note follows another with increasing rapidity until each bird sounds like a whole orchestra, repeats its name amongst a jumble of musical notes. The next song is a surprise because it doesn't belong out here in the field with the bobolinks. It is a favorite song in Dixie. Once in a while, however, a mockingbird does wander northward, and here it is on a telegraph pole, for all the world as much at home as on an orange tree or a magnolia. It sounds much like a brown thrasher, but is not content merely to duplicate its phrases. It sometimes repeats the same little group of notes 3 or 4 times, as if it were real proud of them. On the next telegraph pole is an eastern meadowlark, greeting the world in high, clear whistles that seem to fit the phrase, "It's sweet to me," or "the spring of the year." A little further along on the telegraph wire over some berry bushes, we spy what at first seems to be a tiny black bird. But when we get the sun at the right angle, we discover that it is a brilliant blue all over. It is smaller than a bluebird and has no red on its breast. Its song is entirely different, high-pitched and somewhat goldfinch-like, but more rhythmic, with the notes given in distinct pairs. It is an indigo bunting, and it seems to say, "Sweet, sweet, where, here, here, see it, and so forth. We are back under the elms once more and are greeted by loud, clear whistles from several Baltimore orioles, whose mates are building their hanging nests over the roadway. Their voices all have the same quality, but no two use the same phrases. The one overhead seems to say, "Here, dear, come right here and see what I wear." The female often chatters in response and then adds a song of her own. And now an enchanting flute-like song comes from the woodland beyond. It is a wood thrush, and it sings in measured phrases, as though it had all the time in the world, and it invited one to contemplation, something like this. Would you live with me? Away high in a tree? I'll come right down and see. Following the wood thrush, we hear the bubbling notes of a house wren, which, after chattering and complaining, gives forth with such exuberance that we just can't help liking it. Head up, tail down, and wings a-quiver, it shakes all over with excitement, and for the moment we can forget its nefarious ways if it will just keep us supplied with such vivacious music. That's a cheerful little bird, you remark, as a song sparrow pipes from the bushes by the roadside. The song is not clear, for it has quite a burr to it, and yet it is given with such obvious enthusiasm that you feel it is one of the pleasantest you have heard. Hip, hip, hooray, boys, the spring is here again, it seems to say. But its phrases can be as fickle as the weather. Here is a double surprise. By the time the bobolinks and indigo buntings are back from their winter quarters, the white-throated sparrows and the fox sparrows should be on their Canadian nesting grounds. But now, for our special benefit, a late fox sparrow breaks forth with its ringing whistle, apparently asking an embarrassing question. All we have is what's here, dear. Will you take it? And now, as though addressed to the same unfortunate person, comes the high-pitched whistle of the white-throated sparrow. Poor Sam, Peabody, Peabody, Peabody. The morning chorus has subsided now, but all day long we can hear from the shade trees the plaintive, drawn-out whistle of the wood pewee, calling its name. Finally, as we turn back for breakfast, we think we hear someone whistling for his dog. But then the notes change, and we realize we are listening to a cardinal, another southern bird that has been pushing northward in recent years. He follows with a variety of other whistles and closes with some sage advice to hurry home, hurry home, hurry home. We accept the cardinal's suggestion and hurry home for breakfast, resolved, we hope, to go on many more bird walks until all the common birds are friends of ours because we know their songs. Recorded by the Laboratory of Ornithology at Cornell University.